I've been the only black man in almost every room I've ever been in my entire life.
Okay.
First time I've ever hit anybody else, and I did. I hit him, just kept wailing on him. And I remember saying something like, "Let me know when you've had enough." When I was 9 years old, I transferred to a public school in North Carolina. In the spring, about 3 months before I enrolled in that school, the principal said, "There's never been a nigger in the school, and there never will be if I have anything to say about it." 3 months later, my mom enrolled me in that school, and it was an interesting 6 years until I transferred to high school. The very first thing they did when I was enrolled in public school is they put me in with the mentally retarded children. There were a handful of kids in 4th grade that sat in the 3rd grade classroom because they couldn't keep up. And they didn't ask my mom any questions, and they didn't test me, they just put me with those kids. And I didn't really have any frame of reference for whether or not I was supposed to be in one classroom or another. So I just tried to do the work, and I kept asking the teacher why everything was so easy. And finally, I think someone was afraid that maybe there would be some backlash. They decided to test me, and something terrible happened. They tested me, and I tested into the gifted group for my grade, and that was a problem. Being the only black person, not just in that school, but in that county, the last thing they needed was a little black kid who was one of the top 5 students in his class. When I tested into the gifted program, I still remember to this day the teacher who sat down and walked me through these questions. It was always obvious to me that he was different. His name was Jay Denton, and I don't know why he didn't look at the world the way most of the people in that town did. But he seemed to genuinely interested in understanding whether or not I was capable of the work that they were asking me to do. When I first was officially enrolled in the AG, I think it was called, Academically Gifted Group, the following year, it caused a lot of backlash. That's when I had been bullied before, but it became a regular occurrence. The days that I found myself laying on the ground or on the bus, gasping for air because someone punched me in the stomach, just because they wanted to let me know that it really wasn't all that special. And my mom was just trying to survive, a single mom who couldn't get a job because she had a black kid, and people didn't really want to associate with her. So despite her 2 college degrees and being one of the most classically trained equestrians in the United States of America, she drove a truck delivering sandwiches to convenience stores, and she was usually gone till 3 or 4 in the morning, which forced me to stay with family. I'm sorry, we had no family, which forced me to stay with neighbors who also had kids that I went to school with, which gave them ample opportunity to kick my ass. For me, growing up was just about trying to stay out of the way as much as possible and figure out how to fend for myself. We had a school bully. Every school has a bully, right? We had a guy who was particularly psychotic, and I'll never forget. My mom she had to go to a horse show, and she was going to be gone for a week. It was the longest she'd ever been gone, and she arranged for me to stay with his family. And I didn't even know that our parents knew each other. It was just the most horrifying scenario I could imagine. It was a pretty difficult week, and I got to stay with the Fisher family. His name was Spencer Fisher, and he was a particularly cruel child. He was not just cruel to other kids at school, he was cruel to animals. He was a caricature of a bully. And so I ended up having to stay with Spencer for a week because it snowed that week and we were out of school. And so here I was, stuck with the last person in the whole world that I would want to be stuck with for a week. We're snowed in. He and I and his cousins. And Spencer delighted in kicking my ass, but that got old at some point. So we as kids just went through the woods to wherever, to a trailer park nearby. And he pounded on a door. I didn't know whose door it was. There was one kid in our class who was mentally challenged. And he went to that kid's door and pounded on his door and said, if you don't come outside, I'm gonna get your puppy and I'm gonna kill it. And that kid was too scared to come outside, with good reason. And so his little sister came outside instead and ran to get the dog. And so Spencer slapped her and pushed her down in the snow. And I was raised to believe in nonviolence. My mom taught me about Martin Luther King and how if we were gonna have a positive impact on the people of the mountains of North Carolina, which is a lot to put on a kid, if we were gonna have a positive impact on these people, we had to find ways of connecting with them on a human level and not resorting to violence or anger. But when Spencer hit that little girl, it's the first time I've ever hit anybody else, and I did. I hit him and he fell down in the snow, and I was freezing and I just kept wailing on him. And I remember saying something like, let me know when you've had enough. And he was crying. He's like, I'm sorry, yeah, stop. And it was a weird moment for me. I'd never been on anything other than the receiving end of a beating. And it changed the dynamic of our relationship a little bit. I mean, he, pretty quickly had to reassert himself as being the person who doles out the hurt. But the first fight, and that wasn't in many fights, but I found out something important about myself is that there's a difference between letting somebody hurt you and letting somebody hurt other people. I think that too many people are okay with letting people hurt other people as long as they aren't getting hurt. Sorry, I think I was gonna have an emotional reaction to that. Yeah, no, I'm fine. I've cried in front of many people. I'm just an emotional person.
I'm a crier too.